Warning. This show may contain coarse language, awkward silences, incoherent thoughts, inside jokes, misinformation, deep conversations about the nature of existence, depressing themes, as well as some light, offensive humor. Hey, we're people in our early 20s, what do you expect? If any of that bothers you, I don't know, just cover your ears. Anyway, enjoy the show. Just a quick editor's note here. It might not be a little quick, but I in this episode, I do say a few challenging things about Christianity, and it's sort of me criticizing it in a way because I've since left Christianity because it wasn't for me. In no way is this like a formal criticism or anything. I like with a bunch of information behind it. Perhaps, you know, the circumstance of me leaving are pretty ingrained in my circumstance with my family, and maybe my twisted interpretations of the Bible and Christianity. But even so, I still stand by my decision to leave it. But in that case, just I don't want to offend any other Christians out there. Just believe what you want to believe. I don't know anything, so I'm just gonna let these guys talk about it. But you'll hear it a little later. Let them talk about Nutella for a little bit. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to 8 Days a Year, the only show where a few mates come together every year to record a year's worth of podcasts in the span of 8 days and then slowly upload an episode every week for the following year. It is currently, for us, 8:21 p.m. on the 1st of December 2020. It's still the first day. But you are all probably hearing it on, let me get this up, on the 5th of February. So it's February now. My name's Jason.
I'm Brandon.
And on today's episode, we are celebrating the upcoming holiday, actually it's today, when you're listening to this, Nutella Day.
Yup.
Apparently that's a holiday, Nutella Day on the 5th of February.
Apparently it's a thing. And in celebration, we've got cups of Nutella.
We got cups of Nutella.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Hashtag not sponsored.
All right. And we are going to eat
We're just going to eat these straight.
Yup.
No bread.
It is disgusting.
No, nothing.
But
just
here we go.
Here we go.
Oh. I've had worse. It could be a lot worse.
This is bad. This is it's going to be bad for us, like, speaking while eating this. Get those ASMR sounds. Smack those lips.
Fuck.
Jeez, dude.
No, I'm done with mine. I didn't put that much in mine.
Really?
Yeah.
I put you put a fair amount in mine, so I'm continuing.
You were like, I'll take the large. I was like, fuck it.
Did you want the large?
I didn't care. I just had small, medium, and large, and then Liam took the small one and then fucked off.
Did you do you eat Nutella much?
No, actually. I mean, we had to buy it just for this episode.
It's a policy around my house that we don't buy too much Nutella because I have to be honest.
Yeah.
I would eat it straight sometimes.
Like this?
But not in this amount.
Right.
Quantity.
Right.
But sometimes this amount. Actually, this amount.
Shit.
Actually, yeah, possibly.
Damn.
But not like... So when I would...
Can we look at the nutritional value of this? So
roast me, dude. Tell me I'm dying.
So per 100 grams. So every 100 grams of that is 2,228 kilojoules. So I don't know what that is in calories, but protein will be 6.3 grams. Fat in total, this includes saturated and unsaturated fats, it'll be 30.9 grams. That's a lot of fat, but wait till you get to the carbs because the total number of carbs, and this is made primarily of just sugar, pure sugar. There is 57.5 grams of carbohydrates in this per 100 grams. So pretty much 57.5% of this is just pure carbs. That's insane. So yeah, this is pretty much just fat and carbs and like just the slightest amount of protein, but not really. That's insane, dude. I mean, man. If you want a really carby diet, just eat straight Nutella.
It's thick, dude.
It was very thick.
Oh, man. That makes me feel bad about eating straight now.
I mean, like, it's not meant to be consumed straight. But it does lead into this topic of, like, well, most people, when they get upset or whatever. Well, not most. I mean, there are
like coping mechanisms.
There's like a coping. Yeah, I've heard that like there's quite a few people out there that use like candy and like ice cream as like a coping mechanism for.
It's a cliche right there. Like when you when you've been broken up with or something, you get the ice cream out, you just eat it straight from the container.
Yep, pretty much. I didn't do that actually. Instead, I don't know, I'm really weird. When I get like stressed out or whatever, like I actually can't eat. Like I stress starve as opposed to stress eat. Which is really weird.
Wish I was like that.
Yeah, I don't know why my body works that way. It doesn't help at all when it comes to like being like actually productive as a human being. Like I just get really tired really easily.
Right.
So yeah, don't do that.
I don't, like I was saying, like there's a policy at our house that we don't buy Nutella a lot. And it was because like I would finish it off pretty good because we wouldn't get the big ones like that. We would always get the small ones.
Right.
And I would like when I put it on bread, because I would like sort of lather it on. You would say the way that you lathered on butter on your pancakes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So did you ever get like low key sick of it?
Not really, because I would like it wouldn't be all the time. You know?
Right. Yeah, fair enough.
It would be separated by however many days or whatever.
So you agree that too much of one thing is like kind of a bad thing.
But then like after I finish the toast, I'll be like, oh, the container's still there. I'm like, I kind of like the taste of Nutella. Bam, and then I'll go straight for a little bit after eating bread. And then sometimes when I'm like kind of hungry for a snack and I'm walking around the kitchen and I open the pantry and I see the Nutella, I'm like, I could grab just a spoonful of this and then just leave it at that. Just leave it at that. Maybe a spoonful or two. Like one of those, like the teaspoons.
Yeah.
It's unhealthy. I know. It's bad. I know. But sue me, dude. I did it, dude.
Fair enough.
And now they barely buy Nutella anymore.
My God. I mean, like, you gotta keep that under control somehow, right?
I know.
Well, anyways, not so subtle segue into this. What was the you were talking about last episode?
You know what? I should eat more of this Nutella.
What?
Here's the strat.
Right.
We put so much Nutella that when I eat all of it by the end of the episode,
okay,
I get fully sick of it. And I'll never eat it ever again. I'll get sick so bad that I'll be like, I'll have a negative experience with Nutella. and I would just hate it forever.
That sounds like the worst idea I've ever heard.
It's the best idea I've ever heard.
Just don't do it. you can like Nutella. That's fine. But just
I'm doing it. This is the best way to celebrate Nutella Day. Ruin your love of it. I don't love it. It's just like when it's there, I'm like, ooh.
just eat it in moderation, dude. Like
I do, man. But then, well, not moderation. I leave a decent gap of time in between my intakes. I don't have it every day when it's there. But when it's there, I can down a decent amount.
Well, what's your mentality behind one? Well, never mind. Don't even worry about it. Anyways, what is it, dude? What was the thing you were hinting at last week?
Well,
or for us 5 minutes ago.
Better segue.
Oh my god.
That idea that I pitched where I'd eat just a bunch of Nutella.
Right.
So I get sick of it.
Uh-huh.
Kind of segues to what I was going to talk about.
All right, so please,
not very subtle.
Please explain.
Not very subtle segue about a topic that we talked about before the podcast to set up between Nutella and a completely sort of separate topic.
Yep.
I mentioned, I think, a few weeks back.
Right. No, it was probably way before that, now that I think about it. Because we haven't seen each other in at least like a month or two.
No, sorry, a few episodes back.
A few weeks. It was in like a few episodes. That's what I meant.
So to you guys, it would have been a few weeks back.
Yep.
But I grew up Christian.
Yep.
That crazy?
No.
I just like I grew up Christian, and I sort of hinted at something more there when I told the podcast. And you know what? Let's get into it because I can.
All right.
I'm pretty comfortable with it, but it's like it is sort of a sensitive area, I would say.
Yeah.
But
viewers' discretion is advised.
Fuck it, dude. No Christians watch. But so I grew up Christian.
Yeah.
Like I said, right? And like as early as I remember, I was like I went to church, you know? Like my I think my dad became like pretty devout Christian when I was like young, but like when I was in my early, you know, like when I was a baby and toddler and like early primary, I probably like my dad was probably before primary actually. I think my dad was not necessarily a big Christian, but my mom really got like converted him into one. Like so as early as I remember, it was Christianity, right? And my dad sort of went to this college, this Bible college thing where you get to learn how to analyze and read the Bible and create messages and sermons and whatnot.
Yeah.
Early on. Well, early on in my life. And like, so all I've grown up around was Christianity. I went to the Sunday schools. I learned all the lessons. I read all the verses and whatnot. And I've heard, you know, the story of like Jesus like hundreds of times.
Yeah.
At like not hundreds, like as I went on, it was like it seemed like that. Like it's jumping a little bit further ahead, but like fuck it, dude. Like like when I got into my sort of high school years and early university, I sort of drifted a bit from Christianity per se, and like it comes back to that idea that I was talking about last episode where I was, or like the episode before that, where I felt, you know, sort of like isolated and like a little different to people, and like that struggle with identity, especially in like this church that was largely Filipino.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really feel like I fit in there. And like that was part of it as well. But like as time went on, like I really came to dislike the church that I was a part of, which was a church that both my parents were like leaders of. My dad is like the head kind of pastor of the church. And with that comes its own sort of expectations and like struggles within that as well. Like people in the church, I like it wasn't explicitly said, but it's just like I knew it. Like people sort of expected me to be a certain way because I was the eldest son of this pastor person, right? This leader. And, you know, behind this like my dad is a pretty great pastor, I would say. He's charismatic, like on stage when he's like preaching, and he's really friendly with everyone. But behind the scenes, and he's pretty firm as well at times, but like equal amount of firm and friendly. But like behind the scenes, like in family life, my dad still was kind of sort of traditional Filipino, and like he carried a lot of, because he had a pretty rough childhood with his dad as well, and it carried back into my childhood as well, being like the eldest. And these, like I kind of explained a little bit last episode, where like there's these expectations and whatnot, and like you can't reach them, like your parents' expectations of you, and it collided with the expectations of the church as well. And I sort of, because of me growing up quite, my parents were like everything we say goes kind of thing, and like I almost didn't get a say in anything. I almost felt obligated to go to church, and not only that, like I didn't feel like I had the option to say no. So I would get told to do things or asked to do things, and it just didn't feel like I could say no, because then I would be a bad person, because I wouldn't be, you know, I would set a bad example. I'll be a bad Christian, and I'll get, you know, I'll get in trouble or whatever. Because like they ask, like the specific thing I'm like referring to is that they would ask me to, and it was gradual. They asked me to kind of sing, because I'm a decent singer. I'm a pretty good singer, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And sort of dancer.
Yeah.
And so like they asked me to like, hey, can you do like these like musical numbers, like special numbers is what we call them, where like in the like in the middle of the whole the I don't know, it's just like there's like a segment where people just come up and do a song or some sort of thing for, you know, God or whatever. And for the people to sing. And I was pretty decent at singing and playing, and like you know, getting the crowd pretty wowed by the performance, I would say. And so they gradually told me, oh yeah, and they kept telling me to do that, and and then after a while they told me, you should be part of the team that does all the music.
Yeah. Like
sing with them, you know, like when we do the praise and worship or whatever. It's like these are all like, I don't know if you understand all this.
No, I do, because I have had experiences in churches before.
So like I was told to sing like backup singing with people.
Yeah.
And arguably I was pretty good. Better than most, I would say.
All right.
Sometimes like the freaking leader, when I was a backup, would go slightly off key or start on the wrong key. And I would just like not sing, because I had to take a moment to catch the key, and I would find it. And like, because sometimes it's like hard when they're playing it and then your head's stuck on the wrong key that this singer just sang. It was really bad. And like for me, it's like, it wasn't immediate. I'm not like a freaking perfect pitch person.
Right.
So like I have to find it, and then I bring it back, and I, you know, sing it, and then everyone's like, oh, that's the key, dude. You know? And like gradually over time, they told me, "Hey, Jason, you should do this. You should be a leader of the worship team." So a person who sings in front of everyone and leads everyone, and like you have this sort of a implied responsibility where at the end you kind of pray for everyone and like say, lift everyone's spirit and all that. And it was a responsibility, like all of this, right? Even the special numbers is kind of like I didn't want any of it, right? Like I would say I'm pretty capable, right? But it always made me sort of nervous, and I also like I don't know why, but I just like it was something I didn't want to do. And it was very clear to me now in retrospect why, because I didn't really necessarily believe in all of it fully. And so like I didn't want to do the special numbers because I was like scared and afraid and fearful or whatever. And also the back, like I protested against being part of the backup singing, and I protested against being a worship leader to like my parents or whatever, but like they insisted, right? What could I do, right? I felt like I couldn't refuse. Like I did, but like they didn't care, right? They just said you have to do it, dude, And so I became pretty good worship leader. Arguably one of the best. Not to be arrogant or anything. It's just like
Right.
everyone's kind of, they're just normal people. They don't do performing every day. Like that's not their job in daily life to perform and sing in front of everyone and lead everyone.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was pretty decent at it, Like I don't know. I would say fairly musically capable. And I think that was one of the tipping points for me where I was just like, being in that position, it's a pretty high position. Not high, but sort of, it comes with its own expectations as well. These high expectations. And people sort of expected me to be a certain way. And like my parents probably like expected me to be this sort of perfect kind of person. When they know, and in reality that I was very flawed and like, and in a way where like sort of unmotivated and very unconfident in myself and whatnot. And like I didn't have a sort of control of my life that I would have liked. It was just like I was doing everything because people just told me to. And so, and why I'm getting into all this is because like fairly recently, right?
Yeah.
A couple months ago or more, maybe half a year ago or something. I told my parents, and this was really rough, and this was really like a big moment, I think, for me and my parents, that I didn't want to go to church anymore. And I didn't necessarily want to be Christian anymore. And it was because of the experiences I just explained, but also like it's hard to get into, but I didn't feel like I really connected with God at all. I didn't feel like I made a connection. And I also, as time went on and I went to university and I do media and communications, I do like a sort of arts kind of course, and naturally in that sort of course you'd like explore themes of like stuff like ideology and stuff like that. And it sort of opened my eyes in a way, but I already kind of knew because like there's different beliefs that I didn't necessarily believe per se everything about Christianity, but it's sort of opened my eyes to different kind of beliefs, and like the fact that like there's more out there than just believing Christianity, I would say. With that also it's like Christianity and like the church, it was so ingrained in my family, and it's hard to separate that, because it's like, for my parents, that's what it is. It's supposed to be ingrained in the family. That's the sort of values that Christianity has. It's supposed to be ingrained in everything you do in the family and whatnot. But like, when it was a struggle at first, when like I said I didn't want to, because like it was hard for my parents to separate that. That was hard, because it was like everything they did around.
Did they eventually like see like, oh, he's serious about this?
It wasn't. So what like it wasn't like a gradual thing. It wasn't just like a casual telling, like, oh, I don't want to be Christian anymore, guys. What it was this big kind of event sort of thing. This sort of like, all right, this is the tipping point, and now we're just, all right. They knew that it was serious. Like when I said it.
Yeah.
When I said I don't want to be Christian, it's not like they didn't know. They knew, and they were pretty bummed out about it. Like, but let me just explain again. Also, elaborate that it was also, I think, a part of it, and I it's not necessarily part of Christianity, but a part of it was, like I said, like my family's been ingrained in Christianity. It's like, it's hard to separate them. And it's, part of it was that these sort of, like leaders of this church, I saw were quite flawed. And I saw, well, my dad in particular, treated me fairly badly and made me into, and like, it sort of affected me, the things that he did, like, not like it was crazy or anything. It was like more emotional, and like emotional kind of abuse, I would say, but not like crazy abuse, but just like, it felt like for the longest time, like my parents didn't understand or listen to what I was saying, or listen to my side of the story.
Right.
And that frustrated me so bad. And that linked back to Christianity, because it's like almost, because it's that weird idea where like you hate that they can't tell what you're thinking.
Yeah.
But it's just like you can't say what you feel, because like it kind of, that's how I felt. That would just ruin everything, ruin the whole family dynamic, because like again it was ingrained in the family. And so I think that's about everything that's part of it. I think that, like, I just wanted to leave it. It was just not, and who's to say that I won't come back to it, but not that church. That church. Not because I'm embarrassed. It's just like I didn't.
You really did not feel like you could be yourself, right?
Yeah, I could belong, and I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
Like, I believe some aspects of it, but I'm not like some values I don't agree with, and
like the whole homosexuality thing.
Yeah, like,
yeah,
and like not to say I'm homosexual or whatever.
I know.
It's just that I don't believe in like shunning those people and like hating on them or whatever, and like just seeing them as these awful people, or like there's like great sin in them or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that it's, for me, it's pretty normal.
Right.
And so I
mean, if you want to get into the science behind it, I can. Well, not that a lot of studies have necessarily been done on homosexuality, but there has been a few brain studies on transgendered people, and how their hippocampus size reflects that of their identified sex as opposed to their actual sex, which is very interesting.
Right.
And there's like a theory that like I forgot like what the cause is, whether it's like a contaminant or something, but when a child is developing in the womb, certain hormones are produced in order to give them either the male or the female characteristics. But let's say that there was like the mother consumed some sort of contaminant that was an estrogen mimicking hormone, and they were giving birth to a male, right? That male would then absorb those estrogen mimicking hormones and develop female characteristics, and this can come out in multiple different ways. I mean, that's why we have hermaphroditism in like 1 to 3% of the population or whatever. It's a very small number, but it's like still like, these are things that by large are out of our control.
Yeah.
Like who we're attracted to and things like that is pretty much not within our control. I mean, like you can try. You can try to make me attracted to guys all you want. You can show me millions of photos of dicks, and I'm sorry, man, but I will not be able to look at them and be like, dude, I want to bang that. Like, that's just not possible. I'm sorry.
Right.
But like, it's almost like immediate as soon as I see. God, this sounds so bad. It's gonna make me sound like such a perv, but fuck it, I'll say it anyways. In defense of all gay people, I'm doing you guys a favor here. Immediately when I see tits, it's like, whoa, dude.
Oh, yummy. Come to daddy.
Oh my god. But yeah, not to make light of your situation or whatever, but like, yeah, that's I feel like, I mean, if I was in your situation, dude, I'd feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
I mean, not being able to sort of voice yourself in that situation, like I'd feel very suffocated. And, I had a similar experience, albeit not as intense as yours, since you literally grew up in Christianity, right?
Yeah.
But I lived with a Catholic family for a period of time, and I won't go into detail as to who they are, their background or whatever. But I was staying there for like homestay during high school when I moved here on my own, and in the car ride back home, the dad had like the Christian radio on or whatever. I was sitting in the back seat, and his daughter was sitting in the front seat, and the daughter went to my school and was even in my year as well. Yeah. And as the Christian radio was playing, there was this like speaker. I can't remember if he was like the pastor of a church or something. Like he was like one of those like people that were like pretty high up in the hierarchy of Christianity. But like essentially he was talking about the story of Adam and Eve, and why, because of Adam giving his rib to Eve, that Eve owes Adam for that sacrifice, and therefore all women owe men. And it was just like really, really misogynistic shit. And on top of that, it was something like, because Eve ate the apple, therefore all women have sinned and therefore need to. Oh my god, I'm gonna get quoted out of context. I am gonna get quoted out of context for this. But anyways, it was something like all women have sinned, and then like therefore what was it? Like need to do whatever their husband says. It's really weird. Yeah. And I was just sitting in the car, and I was absolutely just like shocked by this. Like I had never heard of this shit in my entire life up until that point. I grew up Buddhist, for those who are listening and didn't know that about me. And like I didn't know that this was a part of Christianity. And holy crap, it's crazy. But like basically I looked in like the rearview mirror and I saw like the girl's face and she just had this dead look on her face. She just was like, fucking kill me now. Like,
Like
you know,
that?
like literally just like, I felt so bad for her.
Yeah.
Because, and you know what? At the end of the car ride, the dad had the fucking gall to just be like, yeah, so, yeah, this is good stuff. This is what people need to know about this. And I was just like, oh my God, get me the fuck out of here. Like, seriously, I was like
Yeah.
so like fucking
And that's
blown away by that.
and they were Catholic, right?
They're Catholic, yeah.
And even still, I think like there's a certain, I don't know if it was to that extent, but there's still that sort of level in Christianity, or like the way that my parents looked at it.
Yeah.
I guess.
But I mean, like with the Bible, it's this really, really old book that was written by like people that didn't really have a good understanding of science or whatever. And also it was written by men. So like there's gonna be bias there, right?
Yeah.
And so oh man, I'm gonna get so much flack for this. But so like the way I see it is it's you know, if you do believe in Christianity, there are probably some things that maybe you should not believe in the Bible, or like, you know, or just
I know.
or perhaps like the leaders of Christianity can create a new like Christianity that indoctrinates modern science and evidence into that.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, man. Like I just yeah, I didn't necessarily agree with all of that as well. And the thing is, like, oftentimes in the church you hear like everything in the Bible is scripture, right? You gotta believe in everything, right?
Yeah.
Even the crazy shit like that.
Yeah. It's like you can't be selective about it. You have to, the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like the whole thing is word.
Yeah.
And you have to believe all of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
And that's a bit like, I don't know. I can't like logically in my brain, I'm just thinking, is that really a good idea? You know, like, because there's some stuff in there that I don't think are very applicable to today's society, but there are some stuff that I think can be, and maybe our society lacks and should adopt. I'm just putting it out there. Not all of Christianity is bad.
Yeah.
You know, like for example, all that stuff about treating, you know, people in the way that you want to be treated, you know, love thy neighbor, like I forgot what it was. I forgot the whole quote.
Love thy neighbor. I don't know.
It was something like so basically just like love your neighbor like you love yourself or something like that. I think that's the
like
direct translation, but that's good. That's good stuff. Like I think that's that, you know, you can build a really good community from that. And Christianity actually, or like religion in general, creates these communities that otherwise in society don't really exist unless you consider like, I don't know, clubs and other community gatherings to be like a replacement for that, I guess. But you know, it collects people under the ideology that they are contributing to something beyond themselves.
Right.
And this is actually kind of what set us apart from other hominid species. And if you've read the book Sapiens, it kind of goes into this, but like essentially religion is kind of what allowed us to congregate and form very complex groups and allowed us to outcompete like the Neanderthals and things like that. So, you know, in a lot of ways, we are the way we are because of religion. And our ability to create and to imagine beyond ourselves is super powerful, and it's definitely not something that we should neglect going forward. However, our society is kind of moving in that direction where like we do lack these sort of big communities, and we put a lot of emphasis on like individuals and individuality and like things like that. And yeah, I think that's the reason. I guess this is sort of for another podcast, but I feel like that's the reason why a lot of people feel very lonely these days, and sort of isolated into themselves. And it's because they lack that community that they can go to find support.
Right.
And as humans, we are very social creatures, so we need that. But if we don't have that, then it can cause problems. So that is where I think Christianity, or like all religions in general, actually do something really well.
Yeah. I think that, like, to go back to my sort of own experiences, I guess, like back to what you were saying, like the positives of like community, like with religion, like I feel like in a sort of way, I feel like in like individuality, I think I didn't want to be part of, like, it was like this sort of opposite feeling where I didn't want to be part of this community that I didn't want to be in. I just wanted to be myself and be my individual thing. But at the same time, it's not only that, but like I feel like I found a really great sort of small kind of community where it's like my friend group who really do kind of understand me and like can, like relate to me on my level and like sort of understand where I'm coming from and not judge that. And also like we sort of share the same kind of values in that regard. And like I couldn't say the same thing about, Christianity and like my family in that way. I don't think that I can, or like my parents I don't think that I can relate to all the values that are there, especially when it's like, especially when I'm like a teenager, or like not a teenager, like in my 20s, and all my weekends are spent going to church. Weekend's supposed to get lit, bro. But that's a very surface level way of looking at it.
I know,
but it's like my friends kind of get me, and like, that's like, and I feel like a whole lot more freer since I sort of left it, and like I haven't been like I don't feel held back by like that. All the expectations and restrictions that Christianity had on me. And like part of me feeling shit about myself is that I knew that I was sort of doing things that aren't very Christian-like, right? Fucking partying and drinking and like stuff.
Yeah.
and you're technically not supposed to be doing that kind of stuff when you're a Christian. You're supposed to, like straight edge or whatever, like, and like,
yes,
it made me just like I'm just a bad Christian, and like, and also it's this weird hypocrisy where I'm supposed to be this kind of leader person, and I'm like, it's such this weird split, in my life, this double life kind of thing, and I hated that, and I was just like, I don't want to be part of this. It causes me more pain than benefits me, and this other life that's with my friends and like, okay, like drinking to excess is bad, but we have a sort of, cap. Like we know when to stop, and we don't do it often. Like
that's true.
Because like we don't necessarily need to get lit every weekend to have a good time.
And oftentimes when you and Liam get together, we don't actually need to drink in order to have these conversations.
Exactly.
We just kind of do,
And that's valuable to me. And like, I think,
too.
like, it's this weird thing because like what my parents think when I'm like doing this, like going out and stuff.
Mm.
Like I do get lit and party and go clubbing sometimes.
Yeah.
But I'm not harming myself like going too all out. But what they don't understand is that I also have these really deep and meaningful conversations with you guys. And like I said, like on a level that you guys understand and relate and give me some good advice and really understand where I'm coming from. Whereas with my parents, it feels like they're always relating it back to the Bible and the values of that,
Right.
when it just doesn't work for me. Like in particular, one thing that really bothered me, and it was probably me and my weird, wacky interpretation of it, but like in the Bible, like I explored this, and that's a whole nother thing to talk about. My
alright.
audio journals.
Oh, yes. Oh, we have so much content to go through for this podcast.
We could like play one day.
Pretty much just analyzing Jason's psyche.
So,
That's
like-
pretty much what this is.
Like that's a whole different story. But I sometimes talk to myself, which we'll explain in a later episode.
Yeah.
The like I explored this like why like it was so problematic. Like this was after I had my screening and I sort of had
Right.
this sort of epiphany about it. It's like, you know, I felt sort of good about myself after that screening. But like when it comes to Christianity, or sort of the way I thought about it, but not completely, is that, you know, everything bad that happens to you and everything wrong that goes on in your life is either
Yup.
the devil or
Okay.
it's you. You're bad. You're bad. You did a wrong thing. You messed things up. You're bad.
Yeah.
And the opposite side of it, if something good happens, if you did a good job at making a film, if you got the girl or whatever it was, right? And you succeeded, it's not because of your own will, it's not because of your own effort, it's because God gave it to you. It's because God did all this and that. And you
gotta
didn't
be
do
kidding
shit. You're bad. There's this notion in Christianity. It's in the Bible, man. It's like
Oh my god, this is funny.
like all your like this is in relation to like Jesus, the ultimate sacrifice on the cross.
Yup.
And what you do, like people, and it's sort of this twisted way of thinking, because like if people think it's like good things don't make you go to heaven. If you do good, it won't necessarily get you to heaven. It's Jesus's ultimate sacrifice that gets you to heaven, because everyone's inherently sinful, and you can't change that. And I sort of inherently believe that every person has flaws.
They have their own vices and flaws, yeah, for sure.
But then like all the good deeds that you do, all the effort and good deeds to God is dirty rags. It's trash. It doesn't mean anything. Do you see how that's kind of sort of twisted for me?
Oh, yeah.
Thinking about it, it's like no wonder I just thought all my efforts and everything I did was just like nothing. It was like, I mean, people are all gonna just see the sham that I am, that I'm just like a fucking flawed ass person. All the good stuff in my life isn't my own doing.
Yeah.
Like
You pretty much just took down an entire religion. Fuck, dude.
I sort of realize, and like I said, it's probably like my sort of own twisted way of interpreting it.
Yeah.
But like that's just how I, you know, like how I read it, dude. That's just like, and I don't know how else you can twist it any other way. It's like,
Yeah. It kind of just promotes this notion of, no, you don't have to take responsibility for your actions. You'll be forgiven no matter what, as long as you believe in God. And on top of that, everything that does go well in your life, oh, you didn't do that. You shouldn't take responsibility for that either. You should just say, oh, thank God he gave this to me. You know what I mean?
man,
That's crazy.
I think it added to the fact that I didn't value myself as much as I did, you know? Because like there was a lot of good stuff that I did. There was a lot of creative things that were really well done, and like I feel like all I needed back then, like when I was a kid, was just a little motivation and just like just someone celebrating the good stuff that I did, like and being like, yeah, you did good, Jason.
And they go into that in the school of life. I'm not even joking. They actually do. Yeah, for sure.
And I just like, it always felt like any good thing I did just didn't matter or mean anything. Not only to Christianity and God, but like to my parents as well. You know? And so that's why I just like, I sort of like really, and like at the end of the screening, it was great because it's like all the people I really cared about and like really mattered to me, all my friends and like the small community that I have. They all like really loved the film and they really congratulated me on my effort.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is great.
No, you did a really good job, man. I'm being serious.
My parents went there. Not because they didn't want to. I just didn't invite them. They just didn't even know it was happening, dude.
Yeah.
And I chose to do that because like the film wasn't really their speed. There was a fair amount of swearing in it. And I was the one that wrote and directed it. I don't know if they're ready for that. And like, if anything else, like, not even though they'll be shocked about it, but they'll just be like, they'll just think it's like, they'll further just think that I'm just like this crazy sinful person or whatever. It's just, it's like they're like, no, it's fine about the swearing and all that stuff. Like when I told them I won't screen it, that I don't want to screen it for them, it's like, it's fine because I get it because all your friends and all the people are all worldly and not godly or whatever. And I'm like, it's just kind of further the narrative that I'm just this person who's gradually just distancing and just like being this shitty person, which I don't get.
I mean, it's not true.
I know. It's like, and it's so weird. And it's like, they'll have this self-righteous attitude when watching it. It's like, look at this, all this swearing and all this stuff. And especially because like, I don't think they'd get the fucking, the meaning behind it. Like
probably not,
the struggle of like texting and whatnot. Because the film's about, you know, the struggles of like coming up with text and deciphering other people's texts. And like, it's sort of a more modern contemporary kind of issue with like youth these days. And like, I mean, some people sort of speak the language, but like me in particular, who does like texting a lot and communicating like that.
I'm going to be completely honest. I'm like a really shit texter. Like,
I'm so bad.
You can ask all my friends. They're like, yeah, Brandon, he calls me instead of texts me. And that's just me, man. I prefer calling. I don't know. I'm weird that way, but I just feel like you can get just a much better connection by interacting with someone via, you know, actually speaking to them as opposed to just texts on a screen. Because I mean, this has happened multiple times, me texting people, but like they'll just misinterpret what I say completely because there's just not that extra context in your tone and facial expression, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, sorry, no, I didn't mean it that way. I meant it this way. And they're like, oh, that's okay. That makes a lot of sense now. And it's just like, dude, if we were just calling, that wouldn't have been an issue. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
I think that I've been criticized by my like cousin who's like more into it, I guess. And and I can kind of see it in myself. I sort of text quite formal, I guess. And I like put full stops and everything, spell everything correctly and sort of fully. Like, I think I use IDK. Like, I do use that.
Yeah.
I don't use emojis whatsoever.
Yeah, you don't. You really don't.
Is it concerning when I text, dude?
It's not concerning, but it's just kind of like, you just kind of give off this vibe that you don't actually care. Even though maybe you do, like it's something serious, but you like when you text, it's like sometimes it just kind of feels like, oh, Jason doesn't want to talk to me. He's just replying to me because he has to or something like that.
And you know what? That's not a faraway interpretation of what it is.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't even know. Like, I'm weird with text, dude. I'm gonna look at it, dude.
Oh my god, how did we get from like Christianity to texting? Oh,
I just like, I think like at this point, like all my friends know how I text, sort of,
Yeah.
and I don't mean anything by it. I just like am giving sort of the bare minimum information, or like just doing like just I have a I there's the sort of thing I want to do, and I just send the text, and that's it. Like,
Yeah.
like I need I need a message out there. Just clearly sort of do it.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes I also like need to elaborate. So like I also sometimes have long texts. But it's just
Yeah, it's true. Well, anyways, like, I don't know. Where were we again? Oh yeah. Well, with your parents like not coming to the film,
I didn't tell them about it.
yeah, dude, like if I'm being completely honest, like I get where you're coming from, and I know a lot of people will probably be like, "Oh, but you shouldn't think so negatively about like your parents or whatever. Like you should give them a chance, you know."
Yeah.
And it's not like you haven't tried, right? It's like you've tried to bridge the gap, and it's hard. And you know, I think it's okay to go at this at your own pace.
I think, you know what?
That's just my opinion.
I feel like I gotta disagree with you, man. Because I
Really?
feel like I haven't sort of made an effort to bridge the gap.
Really? I mean,
I think
you went out of your way to like tell them about everything and just like
I know. I went out of my way to tell them so I can cut it off and just separate myself from it completely. And it's like, it's almost, I think the way that, and I know I'll probably gradually shift away from that. But like the way I've sort of gone about it, and as evident by the fact I didn't invite them to the screening,
right.
I just like, I almost don't want anything to do with them. And it's like, it's crazy because it's not like I cut myself off from my family. I'm still very much like hanging out with my brothers and my cousin. Well, my cousin, he's not really that Christian, but my brothers. I watch films with them and I hang out and I talk with them as per normal. And like, but my parents, and I feel bad because I'm like, I always group my parents as one thing, and I think my mum's pretty nice to me, and sort of kind of gets where I'm coming from, understands me. But at the same time, it's like there's still a sort of emotional manipulation tactics that my mum uses.
Yeah.
But like both my parents, it's like I've sort of, and they sort of have like seen it, I guess, or like commented on it. The fact that like I've sort of almost disappeared from them in a way, and it's also to do with the fact that I had a lot of work to do with filming and stuff. But like I barely, the most interaction I had with my parents was basically church, and that's about it, I think, and them criticizing me all the time and telling me what to do. And now it's just like, it's like I don't have the same, you know, Christian values as them anymore. And so like they feel like I've sort of disappeared in a way. I don't know. It's like, it's hard to explain, I guess. Like, funny story. It's like they told me where it's like, they told me like where, like, in this sort of semi-dramatic way, like where has our son gone, you know? Like when is he coming back? Like to me, like, when are you coming back, Jason? It's like you're gone. And I've largely, for the most part, I haven't gone. I'm sort of the same person. I'm doing the same thing. I still procrastinate as much as ever, and I do the same, and I'm sort of the same with like around my friends and the way I do work. It's just that I largely don't want to do Christianity anymore, and I sort of feel better about myself because of that. But like, that's largely the difference in dynamic there. Everything else is the same. I still do chores and everything around the house.
Right.
And like the fact that my whole identity or my whole connection to them was just Christianity, and they think that I've disappeared. It speaks to the fact that they couldn't separate Christianity and being a family, and just like talking to me as a son and father and mother, and just like having a relationship there that's separate, or like not separate, but like also something there, some sort of connection,
Right.
because there wasn't really. And like for me, and the one that was there was sort of toxic and not. It just made me feel shit about myself, and so that's why I sort of, I've sort of, since I cut it all off, I've sort of tried to distance myself from them in a way that I think they don't like who I've become, like in that way, but also like I don't think they'd understand, or like not even that. It's just like what's happened, because I don't go to church as much. It's just like matter of circumstances, and that I'm busy and I sort of sleep in a little bit more than usual because I stay up late. I don't know. It's a little different. So it's this. It's like it's a weird point with me and my parents, but I've talked to you about this before, about sort of bridging the gap between them, and I sort of like almost didn't want to. I just want to leave and like almost never see them again, which is a little deep and rough to go into.
Which you know is impossible, right? They're your parents. Like, you can't cut them off. And you know that deep down they really do love you.
Yeah.
And they want what's best for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think at the moment it's just really hard, right? And but it's okay, man. Like, when things like this happen, when big changes happen, it takes some time to adjust, but I think over time things will eventually get better. I mean, like with me and my little brother, when we had that conflict for like the 7 months that we were together alone in this house, sure, it was hard, but eventually we learned to forgive, and we learned to get over our differences, and we learned to appreciate each other for who we are. And I think that with the situation with your parents, that eventually things will get better and they will accept you for you. It will just take some time, and patience, and I think with you moving out, they may actually find like a deep respect for you, like newfound respect for you, because they're like, whoa, Jason's like this independent guy that,
not right now.
And he's, maybe, I mean, like you will eventually, and like
hopefully
when you've made it, because you've done all of this stuff around the film industry, like filming podcasts and like done like you said, like internships and gotten more involved in like the filming community and getting more involved in like all the projects and things like that. Like you will succeed. There's like no there's no way that you won't, in my opinion. And they'll see it. They'll be like, wow, our son has this amazing talent, and he's like making big bucks from
and
it.
he didn't need Christianity to do it.
He didn't need Christianity to do it. And that's what's going to happen. I 100% believe it, dude. And I believe that you can actually do that.
I believe in myself.
Awesome. And that is the best takeaway from this podcast. We're at an hour and like 5 minutes.
All right. I think that's the end for that episode. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for listening.
Really
guys.
deep conversation about what has happened over the past year for me. Crazy, but like I just feel comfortable talking about it. I don't really care.
This is crazy. I mean, honestly, thank you for sharing that because it is a very personal topic. And thank you to all of you who are listening. Please share this podcast around with your friends.
This was great, dude. We started with Nutella.
Yes.
That's what it was.
Yes, dude.
Nutella and religion. That's the episode name, dude. Nutella and religion.
Nutella and religion, dude. Let's go.
Whoa, hold up. It's future Jason here, who is editing this and noticed there was never a proper outro call to action at the end of these things. So here goes. Please, if you want to support the show, follow us on whatever podcasting app you use and give us a good rating. If you're watching the videos on YouTube, like and subscribe. Also, share this with your friends too. Doing any of these things would help us out a lot. Thanks. I'll let these guys handle the rest.
All right, we'll see you next week, guys.
See you next week.
Or the next 5 minutes fast.